Hey guys, I'm glad to talk to you again. You perhaps have already heard my testimony. He made me into a woman of prayer. Since I shared this testimony of mine, so many more things have happened. As I shared with you, the Lord ordained me as a priest, which is already wonderful enough. But He never ceases to amaze me with more and more surprises, not only for His purposes, but also to test my love with obedience to Him. I was starting to get comfortable with my call as a priest, but He once again called me out of my comfort zone. One morning, in early August of last year, I received a message from our Elisha, saying all of a sudden that I was called to the mountain, to the Sacred Heart Refuge. Needless to say, all kind of things went through my mind, from excitement to fear. Everything hit me at once. It was already a dream for me to come to the mountain, and I was so grateful the Lord answered my prayer. I wanted to discern the timing, but my Elisha told me the Lord wanted me to start the preparation now. Once again, fear and hopelessness overcame me, since I looked on the internet for the things I would have to do in order to enter the US, and it just seemed like a hopeless, never-ending list. The first step I had to do was getting a passport. First, I had to wait so long for a passport appointment, since I couldn't book any flights without it. By this time, I already told my family part of my plan, which they received with mixed emotions. In this trial, my patience was put to the test, and it wasn't easy with my family pressuring me to get a job at that time. But the Lord wouldn't be the Lord if He didn't have a solution for all of this, right? One morning I went to the website of the Italian embassy to check my appointment, and behold, somebody cancelled this appointment, which I took instead, only 2 weeks away. And that was the beginning of a series of miracles. I got my passport then on that day, and so now my journey could really begin. Since because of COVID I couldn't enter the US right away, I had to stay for 2 weeks in another country, outside of the Schengen area. Earlier, Father Ezekiel suggested I go to Medjugorje. However, the trip to Medjugorje seemed for me too far and difficult, so we decided for me to go to Zagreb, Croatia instead. It came then for me the day of departure. I was on the bus, and the whole trip was just a huge big trial. Every booking we tried to make got cancelled. Whatever card we used to pay was blocked, and I was beginning to panic because I had nowhere to stay. After a long time of discernment, we found out that the Lord didn't want me to stay in Zagreb, but in Medjugorje. So because of my disobedience, the Lord blocked every attempt to move forward, because it was never His will for me to be there. Mother Elisha then told me that there is a bus going from Zagreb to Medjugorje the next day. But I was so exhausted and desperate that all I could do was to book myself a hotel room for the night and think about what I would be doing tomorrow. The next day, having decided to go to Medjugorje, I'm there and waiting for the bus. My Wi-Fi was bad, my battery was running low, and I had no idea because the bus wasn't arriving. So I ended up taking a bus back to Berlin. To say the least, I was so disappointed that I didn't make it. The mantle of failure was heavy on me, and I thought of giving up altogether. And my mom wouldn't let me try to leave a second time. So I planned on leaving without telling her. After this trip, Brother David, who lives on the Sacred Heart Refuge, offered his help and helped me with the booking. When the day came, I was waiting for my mom to leave for an appointment that would allow me a moment to sneak away. But would it be that easy? You won't believe what happened. At the last second, we realized her appointment was the next day. So, Brother David reorganized the trip for me again. The day came for me to leave, and I was so afraid someone would wake up, but they all slept like a stone. I went to take the first train, when suddenly an announcement was made that a man tried to kill himself by jumping in front of the train, the same one going to Berlin. I told the community, and they all started to pray for this man. I was scared I wouldn't be able to make it to Berlin at all on that day. So I waited, with the hope that God would provide a way. And finally, after 4 hours of waiting, a new train came, which brought us all safe to Berlin. The flights to Stuttgart and Sarajevo went well, even though it was my first time flying alone, and I arrived safely in Sarajevo, where the owners of the Airbnb picked me up to drive me to Medjugorje. Yes, this time we were obeying the Lord's travel plans. That night I just fell into bed relieved. The Lord in His mercy arranged that Margie, who is now Sister Veronica, who was also called to the mountain, would come the next day and stay in the same house with me for the 2 weeks, since the owners had 2 rooms available. So I didn't have to stay alone for the 2 weeks, but I had a great companion and a big helper as well. The time in Medjugorje was just wonderful. The atmosphere, the people, the land, everything seemed so sacred, and we just knew that the Blessed Mother was giving us her blessing, not only for us, but for the whole community when we would arrive. She not only arranged the whole trip, but she also provided for us everything we needed, like someone canceling their reservation, so we could stay in the same Airbnb room together. The day came to depart for the US, which were 3 flights with 8 hours layover in between. Well, better than nothing. We arrived in New York on my birthday, and we decided to go to Times Square, which wasn't the best idea, since we didn't really have much sleep, we didn't really eat or drink, and were just exhausted, and later I was about to pass out in the subway. We prayed to God to strengthen us. But we did finally make it, arriving at almost midnight in New Mexico. 4 days later we finally got the green light to go to Taos, and to my surprise they remembered my birthday and got a cake and a card. And to make it even better, Brother David and another brother from the mountain came to the house to welcome us as well. A great start to this whole new experience. We got along with everyone on the mountain, and it felt like home right away, since the community is less a monastery than it is a family. We started to get to know each other, and it all felt so familiar. I took my vows as a Third Order Franciscan sister on Thanksgiving Day, and took the name Sister Mary Catherine. Everything I ever wanted became true here, all that God put in my heart. But there was still one, deep buried in my heart, which I had already given up on. During my 3-month stay on the mountain, I struggled to discern the Lord's will for me, to stay here or go home after the 3 months of my tourist visa. It didn't matter who I asked to discern, He just didn't seem to make it clear. So as I was talking with Brother David, he suggested to me that I could consecrate myself to St. Joseph, and he promised me that on the day of the consecration, God will make it clear to me what to do. I was totally for it, since St. Joseph seemed to draw me to himself and give me clear signs to confirm this consecration. I thought, I cannot do more than that. If I give it to him, I have nothing left to do. He will take care of that for me. I did a 19 days consecration to St. Joseph, ending on the feast day of the Holy Family, December 26. And during this time of consecration, St. Joseph already started to work his miracle. I was talking with someone about marriage, that all of us would probably stay single the rest of our lives. However, marriage has always been a deep desire in my heart. As I was looking for my missal, I saw that there was a wedding mass, and I said to the Lord that when He would ever give me the wedding mass, I knew He wanted me to get married. And guess what? The next day during my mass, I got the wedding mass. I was bewildered. Not only that, but the wedding mass was on page 1507, which is the birthday of the brother I had in mind to marry. After mass, I went to discern, and I got faith, and I discerned if it was the Lord's will for me to be married to this brother, and to my surprise I got joy. At this point I needed to discern that outside of myself, to not be attached to my preferences. And whoever I asked got good readings. Even Mother Claire and Father Ezekiel were positive about this person and the whole marriage thing. But until I was 100% sure that it was truly the Lord's will, I kept it hidden from this brother. The day of my consecration arrived, which was December 26, and Brother David and I decided to do our consecration to St. Joseph and to the Holy Family together in the chapel. Then we went to Mother Claire's house for some remas, and I was hoping that on that day, the Lord would make clear if He wanted me to stay here or go home. However, none of the remas I got were clarifying that in any way, so I was really disappointed. I asked Mother to discern for me again, and she first asked the Lord what was on His heart, and she got marriage. We were both looking at each other, knowing what the Lord was trying to tell us. She then asked if it was about me, and got joy. She then got Brother David in the room, and started to talk to him briefly about marriage with me, speaking first about a holy friendship. But it was obvious what she was trying to tell him. After our consecration to St. Joseph and the Holy Family, I finally got the guts to tell him about the readings and signs I got about marriage with him, and he was surprised and excited, and of course overwhelmed and scared. I was simply praying to God that He would now give David his own confirmations, to ensure that it was truly His will for us to get married. And to my surprise, about 3 days later, David comes to me and tells me that God spoke to him about marriage, and that He was willing and confirming that. And so now David was in complete agreement. He asked me to discern the messages he received from the Lord, and I first didn't want to, because I was sure it was the Lord. But I did it anyways. And guess what I got? The Rema marriage in the Bible promise book. Now we knew for sure that the Lord wanted us to get married. I finally got my Medjugorje blessing. We were both so excited, and are trying to find out when our wedding day should be. The Lord told Brother David that He wanted us to get married on the next feast day, which was the Epiphany. And during Mass He got a scene in the host, in which the three Magi appeared. So we settled this day for our wedding day, on January 6th. We were the first ones on the mountain to ever get married there, and we had our wedding in the Mass, after which Father Ezekiel married us with vows that David and I each wrote. We don't know where the Lord will send us, or what He wants to do with us, but seeing God make it so obvious that He wanted us together must mean that He definitely has a plan, and whatever it is, we will do it together. It is written that if you're faithful with the little that He gives you, you will receive greater things. And here the Lord has blessed us with far more than we could have ever deserved. It's not about being worthy. I know that I'm not worthy of what He has done. But our yes to Him, and especially our misery, draws His graces to us, so we can fulfill His will for us. Thank you, Blessed Mother, and especially Saint Joseph, for your prayers and intercession for us. You cannot have any greater help and intercessors than them in heaven. They are our family now, and our constant recourse. Mother Mary, Saint Joseph, please lend us your sacred hearts, so that our marriage might represent purity, holiness, and love. Amen.